is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Back here, first things first, with Brandon Marshall and Greg Jennings. Hey, Greg.
What's happening? Good my guy, that's a little two-way there.
A little something to balance that out. Right there.
Air high.
Air five. The only one
Is that your thing?
That's my thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I can't reach over, because it would be way too awkward for you in that seat. 2 years ago, the Eagles danced their way to a Super Bowl win with a team so deep, many thought they'd be back year after year. But a new article on The Ringer says that the Eagles' quest for a dynasty has been a, quote, disappointment. Well, at 5-5, and looking up at the Cowboys in the division, the birds aren't flying nearly as high as they had hoped. Nick, you think the Eagles have any chance of getting back to their Super Bowl greatness?
No. I think they'll. I do think they're going to get back to the playoffs. I actually like the Eagles to catch the Cowboys in the division and win the division, and to be what they were last year. A tough first round out last year, thanks to the double doink. They ended up even winning a playoff game, and last year that playoff game was on the road. If I'm right, their only path to the playoffs is to win the division, so they'd have a home game. They could maybe even win a playoff game, but no, this isn't a Super Bowl caliber team. We've seen that over the course of 10 weeks, and to be honest, I take a little issue with the premise of the article, and the folks at The Ringer do a brilliant job. I know a lot of those people, I think they do a great job. There is one, to me, missed dynasty of the modern era. You could argue the Bears in the 80s were a missed dynasty. I wouldn't call that the modern era. Like the 85 Bears, man, they could have won it in 86. They maybe could have won it in 84. Like, that was a missed dynasty. The Seahawks are a missed dynasty.
Wow.
The Seahawks were the best team in football by a mile.
Yes.
The next year should have won it again, and because they didn't and the way they didn't, that had an effect on what would have been year 3. You had a holdout, you had Marshawn Lynch, you had questions about there were ulterior motives. That's a missed dynasty. You have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, a generational defense, and you got one championship.
Right.
The Eagles, the NFL history would make so much more sense if the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, if Matt Ryan had just completed that pass to Julio Jones, 15-10, a corner of the end zone, final play of the game. If Julio can just get his feet down, then you know what? The Eagles had a great season, and their quarterback went down, and they got derailed. The Patriots probably win another Super Bowl. They'd be the 3 in a row. That would have made more sense, too. But because they won it with a backup quarterback, Greg, I think it made everyone overstate, myself included, how great the outlying talent was, as opposed to what made the Eagles get home field advantage that year was their quarterback played like the best player in football. They have not gotten anything close to that level of quarterback play since then, and their team success has not been anything close to that level since then either.
I say yes. They definitely have a chance to still get to where they want to go. Everything that they set out to do this year is still before them. Win the division, Super Bowl, all of that is still right there present before them. However, every year your team gets older, you get younger players, you have to develop chemistry. When we were in Green Bay, and I would argue this, we could have been a dynasty as well.
Sure.
We were in Green Bay. The year before we won, we lost in Arizona in the playoffs, fell in a shootout.
Was it 51-45?
Yes, in a shootout. Game we should have won, we didn't. The next year, we win the Super Bowl. The following year,
15-1.
Now we got a team that year we barely get in. Go back to the Super Bowl year. We barely get in. We get in at the last game of the season against the Bears. We're 10-6, but the vibe, the hunger, the passion, the commitment, you couldn't tell us that we weren't winning. Yeah. Because we knew what was in front of us. Everybody had the one goal, one vision, one mentality, one mindset, and we just did it. We knew we were going to win and beat every opponent that was set before us. The following year, lockout, everybody's rumbling. The Green Bay Packers aren't getting together to do offseason this and that. But we go 15-1. We then go into the playoffs, and the vibe was a little different. Why? We won. And I truly believe it's so hard when a team has won, like the Eagles, to be removed 2 years and still have that same drive, that passion, that hunger, collectively from week to week. So what do we see? As a result of that, we see a roller coaster. 1 minute, they play a great team like the New England Patriots, and they're fighting, and they're in it. Then the next week, they play a team that they should just completely demolish, and they flop. This is what happens when you've had a team that has tasted success and then also has to put that together every single week, because now it's not instinctively or it's not natural or organic because everybody still wants it, most of them have it. And that's why what the Patriots have been able to do
it's
so impressive.
Yep.
Because to have that mentality from year to year and still win, it's hard to get guys to do that.
You know why you don't have a dynasty right now? There was one decision that broke up y'all dynasty. Do you know what it was?
What was that?
They didn't get your deal done. That was it. They didn't get your deal done. I think you asked for like $15 million back there, something crazy. They should have got the deal done. Your offense was amazing. All right, so let's get back to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know why we're having this discussion. Every year, there's one team that get hot in November and December and comes out of nowhere. That was the Philadelphia Eagles a couple of years ago. That was them. They were hot. Carson Wentz was great. He was going to be the MVP. He gets hurt. You have a backup coming in. Do you guys remember where Nick Foles was at before that year? He was going to retire.
Yep.
He comes in, this is Nick Foles. He goes from being a franchise, the face of the Eagles, to now a guy that's a backup. That was going to be his position. And now he has this amazing run, right? Carson Wentz probably wouldn't have took them on this run. So why are we having this discussion? Because this was just a hot team. The Philadelphia Eagles was never going to be a dynasty, ever. They have too many issues on the defense side of the ball. Right? And then you have your quarterback go down. So I honestly don't even understand why we're having this conversation and why we spend so much time talking about the Philadelphia Eagles.
So going into I think one of the reasons is going into the year, I mean, I thought they would have the second best record in the NFC. A lot of Jenna picked them to go to the Super Bowl. They were. But in fairness, that wasn't an off the board pick. Like they were one of the favorites. People looked at the roster and said,
the pieces that they had.
And the pieces, they
still didn't fix the issues on the back end on the defense.
That Brandon's point, pardon me, that to me is a really good one. That even in the Super Bowl run, the secondary was a question. Yep. Last year it was a question. This year it wasn't fixed. And what I do think we overestimated with Philadelphia is the importance of an abundance of B-level players with a scarcity of A-level players. So like the team they're chasing, the Dallas Cowboys, the Cowboys got a bunch of A's. Not a lot of B's and then some C's and D's. Like they have top level talent. We looked at Philadelphia and we're like, wow, that D-line goes 8 people deep. But aside from Fletcher Cox, any of them stars? You know what I mean? That wide receiving core, you have 5 viable NFL starting wide receivers. But aside from Deshaun Jackson, any of them actually scare you? And I think that's what hurt them. Fletcher Cox doesn't have a great year. Deshaun Jackson goes down. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, so they have this depth. And that depth is good enough to make sure their season doesn't fall apart. You know what I mean?
Of course.
If the Cowboys had suffered the types of injuries the Eagles had, they're 3-7 because they're second. They don't have the depth. But even at full strength, the Eagles, what is their upper bound? And you're right, they can still pop you and beat Green Bay, but the up and down flow, and I don't know how much that's on the quarterback, I don't know how much that's on the coach, or just the players as a whole feeling satiated from the championship.
It's collectively, and again, it's so hard to get everyone to play with that sense of urgency from week to week. You know how it is. Like you have guys that you don't concern yourself about as a player, and even from a coaching perspective. You have guys that you know, I don't have to worry about this individual. You're about to say something.
Well, they also came out and sold us on this newfound way of playing, the anti-patriot way. Remember, we had Lane on the show. Lane Johnson came on the show and said, we're having fun, we're a team, we're going to win, and we're underdogs, and they sold us on this like wave, this new momentous team spirit that was going to take over the league, and this was going to be the new Patriot way to play.
How often did we hear the Eagles talking internally the year they won the Super Bowl? How often did we hear them?
It went on way too long.
We didn't know. The point is, we didn't
from the Super Bowl.
We did not hear them. We didn't hear them. When you win, you start feeling yourself. You have this sense of entitlement. So now everybody has a voice. We hadn't heard anything from Alshon Jeffries.
No.
Nothing. He just was a player, a good player that did his part.
That's why they call it a hangover.
That's how you win.
Well,
when you get guys who have that feeling.
I knew they were going to have a hangover when we were in July going into camp, and they still were celebrating, partying with the Lombardi Trophy. That was
good point. All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, do the Dallas Cowboys have any chance to beat the Patriots on Sunday? That's next. This is First Things First.
Somebody on this set's going to pick the